Hi and welcome to Evergreen Acres. Today I just want to bring you along for a little update on what we've been working on our little hobby farm here. We have done some work around here and it's been busy for the last week or two. So anyways, I wanted to show you what we've been working on. So we've got most of this section cleared out here now from the brush that was here, and actually we're with everything else that we've been working on. I haven't had a chance to get it all cleaned up. We've got some of it piled up there, as you can see, which we will again burn towards the end of the summer, beginning of fall. And a kind neighbor actually came over and helped us with some of the brush clearing, and we had just started doing some of it ourselves, and so he came over with his brush cutter, even though we have one, we bought one, but he came over and did a lot of this himself, so that was great. And now we're just, like I said, in the process of clearing that all up, moving that stump out of the way and just picking all of it up. So we've got some of it over here that's been picked up and cleaned, and we've like I said, put it on the pile there, which the goats like to try and pull down every couple days. But then that'll be how it goes, I guess, for the rest of the summer till we can actually burn it. Some of the stuff's starting to just poke up again a little bit, so I have to get the lawnmower in here pretty quick, and if there's any little odds and ends that need to clean up, I need to bring the brush cutter out and get that done. And so the next project that we've been talking about working on is our garden. And I am happy to say that we are about 95% done on the garden. I'll show you in a second, maybe more 90%, but it's been a little bit of a challenge. I wouldn't consider myself a builder by any means. And I've learned a little bit when we built the chicken coop and the goat house last year, but you know, getting things level and perfect is a little bit difficult and challenging, but I think it's turned out pretty good. So we've got the garden fence here, so you can see back there we've just got to cut that part off where the roll of fencing is. And what we had to use, or what I guess I chose to use, was these ground spikes to put the 4x4 posts in. And we had a few challenges with that. I don't know if you can see over there is part of where all the wastewater comes out of our house, and that white pipe, and then there's another white pipe further along in the woods there is the lagoon. Way out in there is the lagoon, but along there is some pipe in the ground. And from what I'm told, the pipe isn't very deep, so I think it's only a foot or two down. And so, of course, that created a bit of a challenge in terms of getting anything the post into the ground. So whether we dug the posts or whether we used the ground spikes, we had to be super careful with where we placed everything so that we didn't obviously hit that line. So and we've got a lot of muck still just drying up, but we had to use the ground spikes. Well, I don't know if we had to. I chose to use the ground spikes because I didn't want to have to do a lot of digging, and it just meant hammering those into the ground and then putting the posts in and securing the post, and then of course attaching the fence and then the post or the fence rails. So a couple of the spots where we had to use something different, for example, here, we had to use, or I chose to use, I guess there could have been a few ways that we could have done this, but I used, they're like a saddle, I guess is what it's called. They hold the fence post in if you've got like concrete, and so they've just got a small, sort of a round spike. It's not even a spike, it's not sharp or anything, and then it can just sit in the ground. And I thought, well, that could work to hold the post in place. It'll only go in a few inches, and then by the time we got the fence post attached, it'll be pretty strong. So I've got to hammer that in, but we've just tacked those on while we were screwing the boards on, and so now it doesn't even move. So it's really good. There's a couple places where we've used those, I'm going to call them saddles, and I'm sure there's different names for them, but there's a couple of spots where we've had to use those, and dog's chewing on a piece of wood. then she gets it stuck in her throat. Anyways, we've had to use those saddles just because we didn't want to go down too far. And so, for example, this spot here's got one, and it is a little bit looser, so I'm not sure. And we do have the fence rails on, so I'm not sure how well those are going to hold. But I think, you know, I mean, it is a garden fence. It's not meant to be a weight-bearing structure or anything like that. It's just meant to keep the chickens and the goats out of there. So I'm thinking it'll probably do the trick. Today, the last thing that we have to do is build a gate for this. So we're going to have a gate here and then a gate down at the other end as well. And then the purpose of having the two gates, well, it makes it nice that you can access the garden in two different spots. But not only that, in this area here, so I'm just standing inside where the first garden gate would be. We're going to put a compost area there so that we can cover up that concrete. I know that circle of concrete, it used to be used for, I guess, holding a satellite dish back in the day. And it's really difficult to get out. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a compost spot there, and then we're going to have a greenhouse that goes lengthwise back here. I had been going back and forth as to whether I would have two small greenhouses, so sort of one here and one there side by side. And I have decided to just go with the one greenhouse. The mosquitoes are starting to get bad. So if you see me waving around, that's what I'm waving at. So we're going to have the one greenhouse, and it will just have enough space to go. It's going to be rectangular, so it's going to, I'm just going to back up without tripping over the pallets that we have here. So it's going to just go along this way, here and here. So that'll be a rectangular shape greenhouse. And so the door for the greenhouse will be right about here. And then we can just go straight to and from the garden through the gate. And then if I want to come in and out of the house to pick up something from the garden to use in the kitchen that day, then I have easy access to go from that other gate to and from the house. So, okay, so we are now back inside our feed room. Where we are keeping our baby chicks, and I'll just show you how much they've grown. These guys are just about 3 weeks old. This Sunday they'll be 3 weeks old. Today is Friday, so just a couple days short of 3 weeks, and we've got 7 in total. And I'm just trying to, so this one here, where my finger is, this one here is what we, the one that we had called hospital chick. So that's the one that I had to help hatch from the egg, and it's the one that stayed inside the house for a few days, just, you know, till it could get strong enough to come out with the rest. And now, he or she, which I think we're thinking it's a she, is running around and healthy. You would never know. In fact, sometimes, despite, that's the one right there. So the one that's running around quite a bit right there is just fine and healthy and doing very well. Yeah, so we've got the heat lamp still going. We've covered this with chicken wire now because they are starting to sort of, I don't think they could actually get out, but they are starting to run around and flap their wings, and they do get quite close to the top of the chicken wire. So we're just putting it there as a bit of a precaution to keep them from flying out. So I've just actually turned the heater down. It's pretty warm in here. It's a warm day outside, so the heat in here, the temperature, the ambient temperature in here was about 28, 29 degrees. So I've just turned the oil heater that we have in here for just to keep the room warm off, because it is extremely warm in here, and the heat lamp, of course, is also contributing to the heat that's in here, but more than warm enough in here for now. We've had a couple of nights where it's been a little bit colder, and so we had, okay, see you guys a little later. We had been making sure the extra heat was turned up because it had been cold. It's been frosty for a couple of nights. In fact, I had purchased a couple of plants from our local building store. I guess a back note to that is we had planted a bunch of seeds in an earlier video, and all of the seeds had done really well and were starting to sprout, and apparently there's something in the woods the dogs are chasing after. they had started to sprout and they were coming up really well. And then the last week or so, they have all just sort of wilted. They've had enough water and they've had what I would think would be plenty of light, but I think it was just time for them to start coming outside. And of course, we weren't ready with that for a few different reasons. A, the garden wasn't built, and B, I think, you know, overnight it's been a bit too cold to put them outside. So we had taken what was inside the house and put it on our front porch, and at night had been covering them up, the plants up, but to no avail. I think they're mostly gone. So next year, with having a greenhouse, we'll hopefully avoid all of that, and you know, we'll have a good place to start the seeds with plenty of light and plenty of warmth, and they'll do better. The few things that I picked up from the building supply will get into the ground this week once the gates are on, hopefully by the end of today. And then the chickens, because they do like to go around and scratch in there quite a bit, which is actually very helpful because they're turning up all of the composting materials that we've put in there and whatnot, and so they're helping to of course turn that all up, and we'll be putting in some peat and some topsoil this week once the gates are on. So I guess pretty much that is it for projects that we've gotten done. The only other thing is we finally took all of the electric fencing that we used to have all around the fence up top, and I have just rolled them up top for now. They're on a tree. There's a couple of conductors that are up on the tree, and you can probably see those yellow things on the back there. Eventually we will be running that around the perimeter of the property, especially before the fall, because you know, that's when we have the worst time with predators, the grizzlies and that kind of thing. I don't know. I haven't seen any come this close, but there's been a few neighbors that have said that they have seen them around. So of course we want to keep them away from the chickens and goats. So this weekend, today is Friday, we're going to finish the gate up on the garden fence there, and then we also have the duck house to put together. So tomorrow I will be picking up two call ducks that are going to become part of our farm, and we are also going to be adding a new baby doeling. So we're quite excited to go and pick her up. So we're getting everything set up this afternoon so that they can arrive and have a place. The ducks will have their own little duck house. They won't be in with the chickens, and we're going to have a little section segregated off in the chicken coop area, the chicken run area, for them so that they can get used to their space, and we'll see how they do. I'm not sure how well they will free range, but we'll check that out over the coming weeks and keep you posted on that. And of course, we're going to be getting everything ready for the baby doeling that's coming tomorrow. She's still bottle fed, so once we get situated this weekend, we'll do another video with her and the new ducks. So I hope you stay tuned, and I thank you for watching.